Good morning, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. I hope this pandemic isn't getting everyone down, as I'm sure it is for some. It certainly does have an effect on you. Today I've come up to the forest at the back near my village, and what I'm trying to do is I've got just the 16 to 35 on the camera here, as you can see, and I've also got on the top this little zoom flash gun. And what I'm going to do is actually experiment with using flash in landscape photography, because I think there are certain circumstances where actually having flash can be handy. And because the light levels in these woods are really quite low, and also it's quite windy, as you can probably hear, and I hope you can hear me all right over that wind, obviously there's movement. The ferns are moving, leaves are moving, and all of those sort of things. And with the flash I'm hoping to be able to catch some of that. And I've just seen 3 baby deer, and I've just got to stop the dog seeing them. They just disappeared through the wood. Yeah, 2, 3 tiny little deer. Oh, that's a pleasant sight to see. I just hope he doesn't see them. He didn't see them, but they just popped out onto the path in front of us, and they saw us and scampered back into the woods quickly, which off to safety. That's a good thing for them. So I'm just going to go into the woods, they'll have gone miles by now, and see if we can find a composition that I can apply some flash to. Found quite a nice composition here. It's just off that way, off to my right, to your left. There's a really fine silver birch. I think it's a silver birch. I'm not very good on trees. Just on the edge of the forest here. And I'll slowly spin you around so you can see what I'm talking about. It's this here, this tree. And I've got the flash set up on the camera, angled downwards, as you can see here. It's actually pointing to light these pieces of wood on the floor in front of the tree, and the side of the tree and the ferns. Now the objective of this shot is I want to get some depth to the picture by having the foreground reasonably bright and the background will be effectively underexposed, so you'll get this nice sort of tunnelling effect of the light I'm hoping for. So I'm going to take that shot, and I'm actually using this little infrared control. Sorry, not infrared, this is a Bluetooth control, which I'm finding very handy because I can get the camera set up and I can take the picture, and I can also take the picture with me in it. So you might be lucky enough to see a shot with me in the frame at some point today, because I can remote release it. So I'm going to take that shot now. I'm focusing on the tree itself. I've got the focus point, I'll show you. Spin you round. See, that's composition there, and I've got these pieces of wood coming in from the bottom right, and I've got the track coming in from the left here, and the main trunk of the tree is running up, as you can see. And it's got some nice autumnal ferns in the shot, and I'm hoping this might work. So let's take that. So I'll take that. You notice I focused down here on this part of the frame, which I think at f8 I might well get. I might have to go down to f11. F13. I'll go to F13 to give me more depth, and I think that should get everything pretty much in focus. So let's take that shot and then have a look at it. So 2-second timer, flash went off. I don't know if it saw on the video that happened, but what we will now see on the frame is, okay, that's not quite as I wanted it. The silver birch is pretty dark, the background's pretty dark, and this foreground area here isn't light enough. So I'm going to swing the flash round a bit and just take the diffuser off the front, because I have, if we look around here, I put this diffuser on, and I think that's taking too much of the light away. So let's put that here like that. Let's try that shot again. The wind's died down nicely, but there it's focused. 2 seconds, kapow. Now let's see what that one looks like. Oh yes, that's much better. That is really quite dark into the distance and the foreground isn't blown out. I think I can work with that shot nicely. So that's the first one, and I'm going to have a look round to see what else we can find while we're here. And just swing the whole thing round like so, and there we are. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that shot. That's the effect I wanted. But what I want to do is get some more autumnal colours here. So I'm just going to mooch around through the woods here and see what else there is. Okay, I've found the next composition here, which I've got the camera quite low. It's this really old tree stump over here, which has got a lot of old moss and old bark all over it, and I'm hoping that because I've got the flash on, that will bring it to the fore and everything else will get darker, because I've got in the frame, I've actually got the sky in the background. If I spin you around, you can see. So you can see these brighter areas here, but what I'm hoping for is when the flash fires, this fern and this tree will actually come into better prominence, and the rest will sort of become much darker. So I'm going to take that shot and see what we get from that. I'm focusing on the fern, and the wind's blowing, as you can see, it's moving it around quite a lot, and I'm hoping the flash will freeze the fern's movement no matter what the movement is. So let's have a look and see what happens here. Okay, we have a very dark image, which is what I would expect, and we have a fern that is absolutely tack sharp because the flash has frozen the movement. And all in all, that is pretty much the shot I wanted. And as you can see here, I know it's sideways on, but if you look carefully on the right hand side, you can see the sky, but the sky isn't blown out, so it's not really interfering with the quality of the image. And I think with a bit of post-processing, that might actually come out to be a relatively interesting shot. I like the moodiness of it, and I like the fact I'm highlighting this old fern. And yeah, I'm going to find a couple more shots. There's one in particular I might do, which is I might do a shot upwards, up a tree with the flash on. So the sky again becomes much darker, but the flash lights the trunk as it goes up and diminishes the higher up it gets. So I'll find a tree that suits that purpose. And there might be a nice silver birch somewhere. I'll go and have a look. Let's see how we get on with that. There's a little valley over to my right here, and at the top of the ridge we've got, as you can see behind me and along this track that I'm walking along, quite a lot of silver birches and old oak trees. And there's a couple here that I've set up for a framing of that I'm going to try flashing to, is these two trees here and that little stub in the middle, which is unfortunate in the frame. I can't get rid of it, but on the ground down here you'll see there is a nice route leading along up towards that composition, and I'll spin you around and show you what it looks like on the back of the camera, so just bear with me. This is the shot I want, and I'm using the flash to bring out the foreground, to make it more prominent, to make the background darker. And there's the dog, who happens to be in the frame. Ozzy, move it, come on. And I've got a 1.5 second shutter speed at f13, I think that's showing at the moment, and the idea is that the flash will freeze any movement in any of the ferns and the leaves and bits and pieces, and the flash will also bring out the foreground and give more light emphasis to the foreground. So I'm focused on the root about a third of the way into the shot here, and or I'm going to have to turn off that eye detection system that's making it think my finger is my eye going to the viewfinder, which it isn't. So we'll take that shot, that's the flash, and now we're 1.5 seconds into it, the shot's finished. And that's really quite a pleasing image, because the foreground is much brighter than the background, and the trees are just leading you out of the top of the frame up here, which I think that's quite a pleasing image. I'm quite pleased with that. So I'm going to walk along here. There's another really fine tree which I've shot on many occasions in the past, but not this way. So I'll see what I can make of that next. I'm quite enjoying this, experimenting with long and short shutter speeds, different apertures, and using the flash to fill in the foreground. Great fun. Why don't you try it yourselves? Anyway, on with it. really is splendid, and I'm getting some really nice effects. I'm really quite pleased with the way this is working. But I just walked on a few yards from where I last spoke to you, and just to my right I happened to look back and saw this grouping of these silver birches here running off into the distance, and I happened to then think, oh, someone's left a child's toy ball or dog ball on the ground. If you look down there, and I'll take you closer, there is a rather nice bright red mushroom of some description, and or toadstool or whatever, a fungus of some sort, or fungi, and I want that framed in the shot. And I'm hoping that what I can do with that shot is I can actually use the flash, balance the flash to bring the edge of this silver birch tree into prominence, and the red fungus into prominence, and the nearer ferns into prominence. And because it's flash, it's going to stop the motion, because it is really quite windy here, as you can probably hear. And then the trees disappearing into distance, I want them to get progressively darker. And I think this will work quite nicely. So I've got the shot framed, and I'll just spin you around to show you what I've got framed. It's a vertical composition, and you can see in the bottom third, right hand third, there is the little toadstool or mushroom or whatever it happens to be, and then we've got the silver birch in the right hand side of the frame, blocking your eye from leaving the frame, and then we've got those other three silver birches disappearing off into the distance. So I've got 0.7 of a second f13, and I'm focused on the mushroom. So let's take that, there's the flash and there's the shot, and let's just have a sneaky peek. Oh, beautiful, beautiful shot. That, I'm very pleased with that. That is exactly the sort of thing I wanted, and I might take one with a bit of a longer shutter speed. Let's wind it out to, let's take it out to 1.5 seconds, and that should make the background not as dark, but the foreground should still be lit up nicely. Let's have a look at that one. Oh yes, very, very nice, very pleased with that. Right, so, I'm stunned, I'm really stunned. These pictures are coming out really nicely, and even with a bit of post-processing I think they'll be really quite interesting images. So I'm going to go to that big tree that I mentioned, and I'll try and get the same approach on that and see what I can do. The flash isn't the most powerful flash in the world, so it's not able to light up far into the distance, but I think balancing the amount of exposure time I give the shot and then the flash on top of it, I probably will be able to get the sort of effect I want. So let's go and try that. Tree. Final shot of the day. Here is the very fine tree, very gnarled, nice bit of root coming off down this bank here, nice little sort of bowl down here with leaves in it, all nice autumnal colours, and a high dynamic range of the extreme, because we've got sky in the shot over here as well. Even though it's a bit overcast, it's still a lot of dynamic range. So what I'm set up here is I've got a 1.5 second timer, sorry, 1.5 second exposure, which I'll spin you around and talk you through. Portrait orientation. I'm focusing on the foreground here about a third of the way into the shot. I'm at f18 or f16, so that should give me a fair amount of depth of field. And I've also got the flash with the head pointing down, because I want it to light up these leaves in the foreground. And I'm actually going to cheat and just add a little bit more foreground interest in the way of some more leaves, and maybe a few of these sweet chestnuts, just to give, there's a little bit more interest there in the foreground. So 1.5 seconds, f16, see what happens with that. Flash goes off, 1.5 seconds, shot's done. Let's see how that looks. Oh yes, I think the flash has just managed to pull out a bit more detail in the roots going into the distance, and that's good. That's my image. That's it. Pack up and go home. So, thanks again for watching. We will see you on the next video. Hopefully you like the images and you like this sort of strange way that I've actually brought flash into the equation. I think it brings quite a lot to the composition actually. It gives you more control over the lighting. If I had more flashes, remote operated ones, I'd probably set them up at different places and make quite an extensive layout of it, but I don't. I've only got the on-camera flash with me today, so let's see how the images come out. I'm pretty hopeful. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next video.